Hello everyone, my name is Sbu Mbatha and I'm a PhD student at the University of Bristol, and in this lecturette I'll be giving you a bit of an overview as to my background and how I ended up doing chemistry, and then I'll go into a bit of some of the research that my group are interested in and what I'm working on. So to begin with, just a bit about me. So I was born in South Africa and I lived there until I was age 10. So for those of you who don't know much about South Africa, it's the land of Nelson Mandela, some gorgeous nature reserves, Cape Town, and the world's best rugby team. I then moved to the UK with my family when I was 10, so my parents got a lifetime opportunity to move to the UK. And it is there where we moved to a small town just south of Birmingham called Droitwich Spa. And it's there where I went to middle school, and then went on to high school and did my GCSEs. My high school also had a sixth form college, but I wanted to continue playing netball competitively, so I moved on to a different sixth form, which allowed me to do so. And that is where I studied for my A-levels. So I moved to Worcester Sixth Form College, and I did my A-levels in maths, chemistry, biology and physical education. It's at this point, at the time, I thought I wanted to become a doctor, so that's why I chose those subjects, but I realised at that point that biology is just not for me, and I knew that that wasn't going to happen at all. So I studied these subjects on, and I realised that I was actually really good and also really enjoyed maths and chemistry, so I started looking for university courses which were related to that. But because I come from a medical background, I knew that I also still wanted to help people. So I looked at courses specifically for that. So I then moved to the University of Leeds, where they had a perfect course for me in medicinal chemistry. That's where I spent 3 to 4 years studying there. So the reason why I chose chemistry is, well, medicinal chemistry in particular, like I said, is because I kind of thought that I'd like to continue helping people in some way, shape or form, and medicinal chemistry is more interesting because I like the application side of it. So I like there being a goal to work towards. Of course, there are many opportunities, many other chemistry degrees at different universities. So there's analytical chemistry, there's colour chemistry, there's straight chemistry as well. But like I said, for me, I wanted to do medicinal chemistry, and there are many other courses like that at different universities as well, just with different names. It's during this time, so I did an integrated master's, so I ended up with an MChem degree out of it. But you do have the opportunity to just do it at a bachelor's degree level as well. So the way in which the courses are designed is that in your first and second year, you have a heavily scheduled timetable. So they include lectures, and they also include teaching labs. So at the University of Leeds, we had, in my first, second and third year, our teaching labs were about 9 hours a week. And by the time you get to fourth year, you're basically in a research lab pretty much every day. But obviously, loads of different universities have got different formats. You also get the opportunity to do an integrated, a year abroad. So a lot of people go abroad to study, as well as going into industry. So it's quite popular for people doing chemistry to work in industry for a year and get paid essentially, which is quite nice. But I decided to stay on my third year, and in my third year I did a drug discovery mini project. So that was looking at drug targets for tuberculosis. And in my fourth year, I got the opportunity to work on a year-long research project looking at antihypertensive drugs. So I did that, and I graduated in 2016. And yeah, so these pictures here are essentially, so this is the School of Chemistry at the University of Leeds. So like I said, the nice thing about chemistry is that you're basically working a 9 to 5 because you're either in teaching labs or you're in lectures for quite a lot of your day. So it almost feels like you get the most out of your student loan. So you work hard, but you also get the opportunity to also enjoy yourself and let your hair loose. So I joined the Netball Society. We went on socials, and I was also part of the Chemistry Society, where at the end of the year we got the opportunity to go to balls and get to celebrate with our fellow peers. So why did I choose chemistry as a degree? Why is it that I wanted to study this at university? Well, I'm quite a curious person, and chemistry is literally everywhere. So from the leaves changing colour on a tree during the autumn, to the fibres that you're wearing, to your hair, chemistry is pretty much everywhere. And like I said, because I'm quite a naturally curious person, chemistry helps you understand the world around you. So understanding why the climate is changing, or how it is that we're in a pandemic at the minute. And you also get to work on also some really rewarding projects. So like I said, the projects that I was working on had kind of a human impact on it. So tuberculosis, as well as hypertension. And it also opens up many career opportunities, and not just in chemistry. So as I said, in chemistry you're pretty much working 9 to 5 from undergraduate level. So the fact that you've got that work ethic already developed sets you up well for life after university. And most importantly, chemistry is really fun. So I get the opportunity to try out lots of different reactions. I can get a bit creative about it and try out loads of different things. Like I said, chemistry gives you a wide range of skills which can be applied in all areas of work and life. So some of the skills that you can develop in chemistry are listed here: so problem solving, communication, time management, practical skills, and so many more that are looked for when you move on to employment. So after I finished at the University of Leeds, I knew that I wanted to do research, but I wanted to spend some time finding a course that was best suited for me. So in that time, I moved back home, but I was working in Birmingham at a sixth form college, and that's where I love working with young people. So that's where I was teaching BTEC Level 3 Science as an unqualified teacher of science. But then it's at that point where, as much as I love working with young people, I realised that I wanted to go and continue on my research career. So I found a course that was perfect for me, and that's when I moved to the University of Bristol to start my postgraduate studies. So what is a PhD? Those of you listening at the minute will probably be at the school level. So you'll have been at school, you'll have done your GCSEs, you're now specialising in your 3 or 4 A levels, or your BTEC Level 3. So from that point on, you can go straight into employment, or do as I did and go to university. So most bachelor's degrees tend to be about 3 years, and I have quite a few friends who did art subjects, and they spent about 3 years at university. Some of them then go on to employment after that, so go on to grad schemes, which are very popular, or some then stay on to do a master's degree, and then from there can go on to employment. So at any point in this route, you can go on to employment. What I did was slightly different. Like I said, my university offered an integrated master's degree, so it's quite popular in STEM subjects. So that's basically spending 4 years at university, and you get your master's out of it. And again, as you would in the other route, you can still go on to employment afterwards, which I did. So anytime you see a bold line, that's the route that I've gone through, and dotted lines are for the potential after that. So I went into employment, and at that point I knew that I wanted to go back into research. So that's currently where I am. I'm doing a PhD, and they tend to be around 3 to 4 years. And of course, the PhD program that you choose can be slightly different. So I'm part of a CDT, which is an anagram for a Centre for Doctoral Training. And what that entails is that in your first year of your PhD, you get to try out different chemistry. So I did a rotation looking at gold catalysis. I did another rotation in methodology, so developing routes to make new things, and also natural product chemistry as well. So it gave me the opportunity to try out different types of chemistry before deciding on a final project, which was quite useful for me because I spent a year outside of employment, outside of education and university. After you finish your PhD, you can then move on to employment again. So I'm at the stage of my PhD now where I've got just under a year left, and I'm thinking about my options afterwards. So do I then move on to employment and work for a company, or do I want to stay in academia? And if you do want to stay in academia, you can then go on to becoming a postdoctorate researcher. So they are people who've already got the doctor title, they've already got their PhDs. And so they tend to be quite short contracts, and people tend to move around the world pretty much. So you do this for a couple of years and then develop your academic profile. And after this, again, you can then go on to employment. So these are kind of interchangeable. Or if you do want to stick to the academia route as well, you can then go on to becoming a lecturer, then becoming a professor. So the bit in between this section here is actually a lot longer than it looks on this table, but there is an opportunity to do so from there. When you get onto employment, so the types of things that you can be doing with a chemistry degree, so these are chemistry specific, so things like drug development, so the work that's going on right now with AstraZeneca and Pfizer with the COVID vaccine. You can then go on to becoming a food scientist as well. If the lab is not for you, you could become a patent lawyer or a consultant. Again, stick to academia, become a professor, go on to teaching, or other things like becoming a nuclear engineer. So there is a market for chemists out there. So what is a PhD? What is it that I'm doing in my program right now? So PhDs are very research specific. So unlike undergraduate university, where you've got a heavy schedule of timetabled lectures, you are doing more research. So you basically got your own goal and your own target to work towards, and you get to come up with lots of different ideas of doing the things that you're doing. It's a very specialised area of research as well, so only a few other people in the world are working in that area. So I'm lucky enough to have collaborators here at the University of Bristol, so in a different department in biochemistry, as well as collaborators at AstraZeneca and collaborators at the University of Newcastle who are working on the same project. They are long, so they take about 3 to 4 years, but in the grand scheme of things, it's quite a short time compared to other parts of the world which have PhDs for about 7 years. And the upside to it as well is that you get paid to do it. So unlike undergrad where you get a student loan, here you get paid by way of a grant, which is great because it means that, well, you don't have to pay it back, and so you've got enough to live with as well. And at the end of a PhD as well, you also get a doctor title as well. So I'll be marking that at every opportunity. So looking at this a bit closer and in relation to my research group, so I've got a supervisor. So this is Chris Willis. She's my supervisor, and she helps. We have meetings where we discuss the science that I've been doing, and she kind of helps advise me to where to go. We've also got postdoctoral researchers within our group. So again, these are people who've already got their doctorate degrees, and they can kind of help advance the science. So they can help you with finding new ways of doing things, or help you think about new ways of doing things. And then I've also got a large team of PhD students in the lab. So these are the people in the stage of their PhD, well, in many different stages of their PhD, who are there to help and support you. So a few of them I'm working on the project with, and others are working on separate projects, but we work together to come up with new ideas and help each other out at times. So day-to-day life in as a PhD, so you get to work in the lab on your own individual research project. So I'll show you a picture of the of my workstation later on. You get to choose which direction you want to take the project as well. So there's a lot of independence here as well. So, and like I said, there's a lot of creativity as well with what it is that you want to do. So my teaching, I'm lucky enough to have a supervisor who does a bit of biochemistry as well as chemistry, and she allowed me to decide which which route I wanted to take, and I wanted to do a bit of both. Where if you do get some good results in your research, you also have the opportunity to publish your work in scientific journals. So you get to share the work that you're doing with the greater scientific community. And you also get to present your work at various science conferences as well. So this here is a picture of me presenting a poster at a conference in Portugal. So as part of your PhD, you also get a certain amount of money, pot of money that can go towards travel to and from conferences. So yes, this was me in Portugal at this conference here called ISI-SciCat. This is a peer-reviewed journal, and this cover here was actually designed by my by a postdoc in my research group. And there are other opportunities to present your work, so at different conferences and whatnot. So this is my laboratory. So we've got these fume hoods, fume hoods or fume cupboards, which are basically our individual workstations. So we have a couple going on one side and then another 4 on the other side. And this is my specific fume hood here where I do all my reactions. So over here I've got my my stirrer plates where I do all my reactions. So on top of working in a laboratory, we also get visits from leading chemists in the world. So unlike undergraduate teaching labs where you get people, where you get a timetabled series of lectures, these are international chemists who come in to present the research that they're doing, and you get the opportunity to talk to them about the research and find out how they do things. There are also transferable skills courses to help you develop your skills for when you leave the university. And we also get access to lots of fancy, expensive equipment as well. So it's not often that you get the opportunity to use such facilities. So on top of that as well, you also get the opportunity to supervise project students in the lab. So I knew that I wanted to pursue research when I was a master's student, and I was supervised by another PhD student. And we also get the opportunity to demonstrate in undergraduate teaching labs. So as part of your undergraduate degree, you often have to try out lots of different experiments, and you have PhD students who help you learn how to use those new techniques. So we get the opportunity to do that as well. And like I said, I really enjoy working with young people. So we also get the opportunity to volunteer for outreach activities with the University of Bristol. All this sounds like a lot of hard work, but you also get the opportunity to enjoy yourself. So my cohort and I, we went on a holiday in our first year to relax and unwind. We sometimes play sporting fixtures against other research groups. We had a chemistry ball as well, so we got to switch our lab coats for posh frocks. And my supervisor often has us around in the summer as well for a bit of croquet. I'm not sure when that will be able to happen given the current crisis, but hopefully soon. So this is a part of the talk where I then go on to talk about the types of research, the research that we're interested in my research group. And we're particularly interested in natural products. So these are complex molecules which elicit a certain effect, and they are derived from nature, so either bacteria, from fungi, Just as a quick note, so in this little box here, as chemists, we're quite lazy. So in your textbooks, you might be familiar with seeing the displayed structure, which shows all your carbon-carbon double bonds with bonded to hydrogen. But as chemists, we're quite lazy and we tend to draw it out as skeletal structure. So wherever you see an edge that represents a carbon bonded to other hydrogens that we don't show. So as I said, these are some molecules which are of interest to our group, mainly because they elicit a certain effect. So mupirocin here is part of an antibiotic, a topical antibiotic called batumen. But natural products are quite popular, and you might find some of these already in your medicine cabinets or being used in hospitals. So on this slide, I usually leave some time for students to guess what some of these molecules are. So on the left-hand side, I've given you a picture of where they're derived from. In the middle section, I've shown the skeletal structure. And if you've got any eagle eyes over there, you'll find, so these are the drugs that you'll find these skeletal structure in. So you've got aspirin, you've got penicillin, and you've got morphine. So already there are many natural products that you can find in your medicine cabinet, essentially. And the reason why my group are particularly interested in these things is because, so there was a review published quite some time ago actually now, but it stated that by the year 2050, more people will be dying from antimicrobial resistance than cancer, which is quite a problem, as we already know, due to the misuse of antibiotics and the growing resistance of antibiotics of bacteria to antibiotics. So we need to find new ways of making antibiotics and finding new drugs that target different pathways so that we can stop this resistance. And as such, many scientists are working to find new treatments, find new sources of drugs, and they are exploiting new habitats to find new antibiotics because, like I said, nature is quite prolific in making natural products. So as such, so this molecule in particular is called abyssamycin C, and it is derived from this bacteria here, and it's in the name. So abyssamycin, it was found in the Sea of Japan at about 200, just over 200 meters below sea. And this molecule here shows really potent antibiotic activity against MRSA and VRSA. And what's amazing about this molecule as well is that it's quite complex. So it's quite hard to see it on a presentation, but it's highly complex. And the fact that bacteria can produce such a molecule is quite fascinating, and it produces it as a secondary metabolite. So looking at it in closer detail, again, it's at this point where I leave students to try and identify some of the functional groups within this molecule. So if you've got the time, can you may pause it in order to ask the class whether or not they can identify some functional groups. On this slide here, I've got them highlighted. So these are just some of them that you can see. So you've got your ketones, you've got esters, you've got ether linkages, you've got alcohols as well. And you've got a cycloalkane connected to another large macrocycle as well, connected to another ring cycle as well. So this is a lactone here where you've got an ester in a ring format. And nature has this wonderful way of making these things. So abyssamycin C is a type of natural product called a polyketide. And it's biosynthesized in such a way that I think of it as a conveyor belt, where you've got lots of different starting materials which are kind of fed through this process here, and the chain is elongated up until this point where it comes to an end point where you then have different enzymatic transformations. So I'm going to represent them as a little Pac-Man, and these these enzymatic transformations allow you to form this ring cycle, which you then you make an acetate, and then that eliminates to give you this double bond here. These two structures are the same. This is more linear, but this here is showing you it folded in a different format, which then undergoes this enzymatic transformation to form a new 6-membered ring here, as well as this 11-membered ring macrocycle here. And there are some other enzymes which are involved in making the final linkage. So you do an epoxidation to give you an oxygen here, and then it opens to form this, this final structure here. So in my research group, we're particularly interested in this transformation here, because it's quite amazing that you can go from something so linear to offer then some great complexity here. So you form a new carbon-carbon double bond, which makes a cyclohexane and a macrocycle here. So like I said, I'm working in a team of collaborators, and so the team, just a brief oversight quickly of what enzymes are. They are biological catalysts which speed up chemical reactions in all living things. So you've got them in your body right now, doing many complex reactions. So you've got lipases in digestive systems. So they allow reactions to occur more easily. As I was saying before, we've got collaborators in biochemistry who have been able to isolate crystals of ABYU and then solve the crystal structure. And in doing so, we're able to reveal the active site of ABYU, so find where it is that the molecule bonds. So this is a collaborative effort. On our side, in the chemistry side, we've been working on the synthesis of this molecule here. So this takes about 8 steps to make, so many different steps to make it. And then we get to this linear substrate here where chemically, if you heat this in chloroform, it takes about 2 days to heat and you get this cyclized product here. Whereas if you incubate this molecule here with ABYU, the enzyme, you can do this transformation in half an hour. So that really, really shows the power of having enzymes to help catalyze reactions. This reaction in particular, like I said, you're forming a new carbon-carbon double bond here from this diene and dienophile. Is called a Diels Alder reaction. So this is a simplified version where you're moving electrons from a pi bond, a double bond, all the way around to create these two new bonds. So in doing so here, you're forming these 2 new bonds to make your cyclohexane ring, to make your macrocycle, and you're also making this new spirocenter here. So adding a lot of complexity just from one reaction there. So that was a bit about my research, just a short overview, but to summarize, to summarize everything that I've said in my talk, really, a degree in chemistry opens up many different opportunities. So I went down the route of, currently in the academic route of completing my PhD, but I can then go on to doing something completely different afterwards if I choose to. And as a final note from me, from the project's perspective, antimicrobial resistance is a growing threat, and we do need more scientists, be it a chemist, biochemist, biologist, to help combat that threat. So yes, there is an urgent need for scientists to develop new antibiotics and more efficient processes of making new drugs. So hopefully you should be able to see the power of what science can do, especially with this new COVID vaccine that is coming out soon. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed my talk, and thank you all for listening. Thank you.